morning for this board staff?
Great. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come before you. As many people know, the election office has been a bone of contention with parking, with a bunch of people standing in line. We made Saturday Night Live not in a good way a few years ago during COVID with the lines, but we have the opportunity finally to look at other locations. So we've taken the opportunity to look at locations that were not centrally located, not county owned, but kind of give enough space for us and particularly the voters. We want to make sure it's a good spot for the voters to be. And the place that we've come down to is River Place. Surprisingly, maybe Tom remembers, years ago we were offered River Place and we chose not to go there. But 20 years later, we're proud to say we're looking at River Place. It's the old place for DHS, so we're retrofitting it. It'll have more of a central location. It'll have a lot more parking. I won't have to worry about 2nd Avenue or Court where cars are zooming by. So it's giving us a good opportunity also to keep our ballots secure and safe. There's a fireproof room out there that would make sure our ballots in any kind of an event would be safe. So that's what we're looking at. That's what we're moving towards. We're hoping to get out there August. That way we can do the city and school election out there. But it's going to take a PR effort as well. So that's one of the reasons I'm before you today. I've already talked to John Cahill from your staff about a joint effort. Like I said, we're still in the beginning phases of all this, but we think it's going to be a positive outcome for all of our voters and River Place as a whole. So we'll have the opportunity to have voters come in a bigger space to come vote. Anyone that's voted in our office before knows you're in line for, during big elections, a half hour to an hour to come into a very cramped location. This will actually have a better flow. We've worked with Scott Ourth, Tom Alessio, Rick Corbin, and their team to make sure that what we see and what we're thinking will be carried out. I'm not a contractor by trade, so they've been very valuable to me on what you can and can't do. So I wanted to give you guys an update on what we're looking at, the timeline. We will have some costs on printing, but the legislature may change the number of things we're required to put in the absentee envelope anyway. So we may have had that opportunity regardless, but we think the cost will be minimal. We think that moving out of downtown will be beneficial for our taxpayers. We just have to get the word out to them.
So, Jamie, just so that I'm clear, that some of the challenges you have with an August move, obviously you've got some elections set. Getting you out in August, if you truly are able to move that first week of August, will that prepare you for what's on the horizon in terms of elections?
Sure. So early voting doesn't start till 20 days before the election now. So that'll give us an opportune time to get out there, make sure we have everything set up correctly, and then to get the message out to the voters. If we don't go the first part of August, we're probably going to have to go after the election, which will confuse people because they're going to hear more about us moving. But we also want to make sure they know to go to the right place for early voting. That's becoming kind of the king now. Voting in our office versus voting by mail versus going to satellites. People are coming to our office more and more, and I think you're going to see that trend continue. This space will give us the opportunity to have people, if they have to stand in line, they'll be in line inside.
And as I understand Iowa law, it will allow you then to install a drop box at the voting location as well?
Yes, current law will allow us to have an outside drop box. Right now, the drop box we have is inside our building. So you have to get out of your car, put it in there. It's very secure. The laws that do affect the drop box, it may go away if the legislature keeps it. We'd envision putting one similar to how the treasurer has here, bigger, a little more secure, and with cameras that are required by law.
That's great. That's great. Any other obstacles as it relates to vacating your current space?
A lot of it's just figuring out how much space we actually need.
Right.
When you have a whole building and you're going to retrofit into a bigger area, but less floors, a lot of it's going to be trying to make sure that we get enough space to store our voting equipment, to store our voting booths, to store all the election documents we need to store. So a lot of that, we've worked with Scott and Tom to make sure we're looking at this a bigger picture.
That's great.
Hey, Jamie. Angela's watching online. I don't think she's on the phone, but wanted me to ask what area specifically of River Place and who is currently occupying that place and where are they going?
Sure. Well, I don't know where people are going. We are in the southeast, or northeastern part where Department of Human Services used to be. When we went out there were only 2 people in the office, so it looks like they've already vacated, and it just looks like a perfect spot for us to go into. Scott says they're going to the larger DHS area.
It's the space where the sheriff's office used to be as well, but it's vacated now, so it's open. And to your point, it's on the bus line, it has plenty of parking, it's a county-owned building, and I just want to give Jamie a ton of credit for how reasonable you've been through this process and willing to work with us. And there was a real sense of urgency given the safety issue at the current place, and General Services has been great. We have some money set aside that we were going to use at 120 Second Avenue that we can put towards retrofitting this to make it really work well for you, staff, and the voters.
Thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Jamie. Scott, do you have anything for the construction side of this, that considerations that we should be thinking about?
Scott Ourth, General Services. Mr. Alessio and I have surveyed the property on numerous occasions, walked through it with Jamie and Johnny Chido, and it looks like the whole thing is working out. It's just an ideal situation all the way across the board. The funding that the county administrator just mentioned will be sufficient. Mr. Alessio and I have been walking through preliminary ideas about the thing, and we should be really good. The auditor and his deputies are currently working with us on developing a floor plan that works for them. And Mr. Alessio, do you have anything you'd like to add, sir? I think we're good to go. Any
Okay.
questions?
No, so the one question I have about the voting machines, they will be secured in a locked area, as part of this is.
That's correct.
Understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the loading docks there to load and unload those machines and everything else.
It's really a good deal. The move down there is really a smart move because when you take a look at the whole comprehensive needs package that the auditor has, from soup to nuts, from parking to being on the bus line to being out of the weather when one is waiting to vote, and et cetera, the drop box, the ease of entry and exit. And then in terms of the physical plant itself, it does provide plenty of room to put the voting machines in a secure locked area, as well as securing ballots and other sensitive materials, and plenty of space for their employees. And then the way Tom and I are building it out, there will be a huge front counter that'll have separate kind of stations, kind of like in the treasurer's office, where people will be able to come in and vote. How many are there, Jamie? 10. 10, so 10 people can be voting at one time.
That's great.
At the place. So we've looked it over pretty comprehensively, and I think it's affirmative all the way.
Okay, and your timeline works with your jobs that you have going and what you're going to add in?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So here's how we've kind of got it planned out. We've got 1900 Carpenter, which is the Global Neighbors Project, which is next on our list. We're still waiting for we've been working with the architects on basic planning for this thing. Tom's team is ready to roll on that. Our hope is that we can get the floor plan from Jamie and his deputies put together so that we're already in full demolition mode. We've already been demolishing the River Place space for a week now. Is that correct, Tom? About a week, and making great headway on that. So we're getting that thing ready to go. We'd like to get started on it as quickly as possible so that we can punch out some of the more labor-intensive parts of that, and then we'll start phasing out back and forth to the 1900 Carpenter project.
So the type of construction that we'll be needing to do out there is not, I mean, there's a demo side and then probably some reconstruction, but is it it's not major, right?
It's not involved to the degree that we're jackhammering floors to put plumbing and putting new bathrooms in and things like that. There will be some of that out at 1900, but this is basically a design carpentry, drywall, pretty simple operation. Again, Tom, am I tracking correctly? Come on up. Come on up.
It's more of a demo job.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not really involved from a construction or a contracting perspective. It's not terribly involved at all.
Okay,
So this will be more of knocking walls down, more of an open space. We're currently waiting on one employee to move out so I can kill all the electric, to go ahead and demo some more rooms. We have the front half completely empty. So the cost will be a little bit lower because we're not really building a lot back up. We're gonna install a counter, a couple more offices for people to check out the front, but not an intense rebuild. More demo than anything.
okay,
So I believe the budget that was set aside last year is gonna more than cover it.
awesome. That's great, great news.
And it shouldn't be a terribly time-consuming thing because it doesn't involve a lot of complications like matching the ceilings up and moving, working around sprinkler systems. I mean, we've already got that pretty much mapped out. So it should be a pretty straightforward construction process, and it shouldn't take too terribly long once we get the plans that Jamie wants. We should be able to move right ahead with it.
That's great. And I know, Jamie, you talked about the training room. The meeting room, we're gonna have access to that space that you need to do your training and to do your conference room work.
Yes, staff trains over 1,000 poll workers for big elections. Doing it in a big setting with the computers, having electrical, can be accomplished in those two big conference rooms when you come in the door. So we're hoping to utilize that space. We'll reserve it, but when we reserve it, we need to reserve it for, a week or two.
Right.
It can't be spread out where we're taking computers out, in, out. So it'll be a week or two that we'll need it.
Okay,
And then we'll open our ballots there so everyone can see. It's always been a kind of a fun process for the media to come watch people open the absentee ballots, run them through the machine, count them there. So everything will be self-contained in that building.
that's great, that's great. All right, well, it sounds like we're on the right track. Oh,
Supervisor Connolly? Supervisor Connolly, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I was wondering if we had any ideas what we were going to do with the old building. I'm happy that Jamie's moving to River Place. I think that's great. What's the future for the old election office? I don't think we ever did do that full extensive work on, I know it's in not the greatest shape in the world. I would assume that's why we're moving. But what are we doing? What are the plans with the old building?
We're continuing to evaluate our options, working with General Services, so we'll draft up what our options are as far as selling it or revitalizing it and bring that in front of the board for consideration.
Okay.
all right, well, thank you. Thanks for your questions and thanks for the update. We'll plan on keeping the board apprised as you make progress, and as you need things, let us know, and we'll look forward to a new day in a new location, and certainly want to be part of making sure voters understand the change that's occurring, because people have gone down there for years and are used to that system, and so we want to make sure we do a proper rollout with communications, media, and everything else, so that everyone sees the new location and knows how to access it as well. So with that, I think we'll adjourn the board staff, and then we'll be back for consideration on the Board of Health item at 9:30. Thank you.